Hello everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. How is Hisao going to survive without Lilly around since she travelled back to Scotland to see her aunt who is unfortunately very unwell? I rest my chin on my hand as I absent-mindedly look out the window, yet another of Muto's lectures droning on and on as if it were endless. The summer sky is almost alluring in its bright celerine splendour. Only the odd passing cloud breaks up the deep blue expanse. This fiend of loneliness, probably the outdoors side of me yearning to escape. Naki, could you answer this? That side of me is lost to the past now, though. In that case, I think I would use the -ane suffix. Correct. Moving on the suffix 4 as my intention towards Muto slips once again. I spot Misha give me an enthusiastic thumbs up and nod her to settle her down. Yes, it's been a handful of days since Lily's left for Scotland, days which have passed relatively peacefully. Large lively continued as well, in contrast to what I expected, while thoughts of her having danced around on the edge of my mind since she left. Present events managed to subdue them, at least for the time being. So I find myself idly chatting with Hanako, as usual, when lunchtime finally rolls by. Are the later ones in the series good as well? Which series would that be? Not really. You're probably best off just sticking to the original. His later books didn't live up to it, other than maybe God Emperor. Thanks. I wasn't really sure if... Hello, you two. As Hanako steps to the side, I see Shizney stride up in a typically business-like manner, flanked by her ever-present bright-haired shadow. Try as I might, I can't read any hint of her intent from their faces. Shizney's poker face and Misha's seamlessly boundless, cheerful, a devilish combination exactly. Morning, Shizney. Misha. Hi. I accentuate the greeting with a nod to Shizney in order to get the point across. She promptly and curtly returns the gesture with both of us. It's been a long while since I've really talked to either of them. For a while I thought they might be avoiding me, but I eventually came to the conclusion that Shizney really isn't the type to do so. Morning. Side-chan says that Muto wants to see you sometime. Because of a statement. My face contorts as if I'd just eaten spoiled food, giving Misha no end of amusement. Anyone would think you were in trouble, Hai-chan. You may not be aware of it, but you have the least to worry about out of anyone in the class. One unexpected vote of confidence. Even Hanako nods hesitantly to affirm the point. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. There was something I wanted to ask you, though. And what that might be, Hai-chan? I have a feeling this won't go well, but here goes. This is a pretty sensitive subject. Is there any reason why you and Lily don't get along? It seems like even a little civility would help you both in your duties. Shizney's cold stare after Misha happily signs the word stops me in my tracks. In hindsight, I really could have worded that better. Yeah, I think that's a good move there, Hanako. Out of the corner of my eye, I'm sure I see Hanako move back just a little. Thankfully, Shizney notices and lets her temper dissipate as she forcefully runs her hand through her hair to let off steam. Perfectly on cue, Misha begins interpreting the second Shizney's arms begin to move. I would say that such matters aren't relevant to you, but since you seem to have befriended Lily... She pauses to adjust her glasses, evidently attempts to articulate her point in the best possible manner. Remember, whatever point she has here is only one side of the story. While I assume the same for her, I cannot call my own views on the matter unbiased. Suffice to say, we were closer before than we are now. Shizney makes a quick gesture to Misha to stop her from interpreting, then has a quick meeting with her before proceeding. The fact that the two can communicate so easily yet so secretly right in front of us is just slightly discording. They both have their own language after all. Hanako seems to share my curiosity at the proceedings, looking on with thinly masked interest. As they finished their paid conversation, Misha looked slightly deflated. I guess her opinion on the matter wasn't followed. Shai-chan says you should ask Lily about it, as she doesn't want to be the one that gets you involved. That... she has a point on that one. Ah, well. I'll just have to ask her after she gets back. At least I got some information out of Shizney. The two having been on close terms means that they won't always at each other's throats, or at least not quite to this extent. I understand. Thanks anyways. With a nod and a farewell, the two break away and walk out the door, no doubt headed straight for the student council room. Could have gone worse, I suppose. Hanako lets out a long breath, relieved at the confrontation's resolution. I can't say I blame her. I'll see you later, Ben? Yeah, I'll meet you in the tea room. See you. With that, she waves and joins the trickle of students leaving the classroom. Nakai, could I speak with you for a moment? Delivered in his typical monotone manner, he apparently decided I need a reminder to see him already. Eventually, I've finished packing up my things. By the time I reach his desk, the classroom is close to empty. Yes? Sir? He looks up, taking measure of my face before giving an awkward, rather obviously acted chuckle. No need to feel guilty. You're not in any trouble. I just want to ask you something. I've asked a few of the other students so far. That's something at least. For a moment, I thought my maxim of keeping my head down and pen up has failed me. So what did you want to talk about, sir? To start with, what do you think of your progress in this class so far? Good? Bad? I detest that kind of question. For a fair amount of time I try to think of a response that is neither pathetically humble nor cocky. I'd say I'm doing okay. The work doesn't seem too hard, and I'm doing better on the tests than I thought I would. English. That's a good answer. A correct one, too. I give a mental sigh of relief as its satisfaction. To say that I don't gain a little pride from his comment would be a blatant lie. In the maelstrom of thoughts clouding my mind after learning that I'd be transferring to Yamako, my school grades seemed utterly unimportant. What do you mean unimportant? Your school grades are very important. Being entirely clueless to what skill level would be assumed of me, once I actually got here, I was hugely relieved when I found out that I understood well enough the schoolwork we'd be doing. I know your circumstances might have thrown a wrench in the works, but have you given any thought to your future? My future? What you'd like to do as a profession? Do you have any thoughts of where you'd like to be in 10 or 20 years' time? I wouldn't be surprised if you covered this ground in your previous school, but I don't have any record of it if you have. I suppose the last year of high school is the time when students would need to be thinking about such things. To be honest, I really haven't lent it much thought compared to my immediate situation. Catching on to my thinking, Muto speaks up. It's okay you haven't decided on anything specific. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of your classmates were still undecided after all. Maybe pursue one of your talents? He's rather obviously trying to squeeze an answer out of me, and something about his previous wording makes me suspicious. He didn't seem to be intent on asking everybody like this, so he must have some kind of selection criteria. At a guess, our grades in his class. Like, science, for example. Well, something in science might be the path of least resistance. His face brightens, no doubt pleased at the thought of a prize student following his subject as a career path. Good. Have that general idea as the first step. I would advise you to think on it, though. I will. Things are kind of settling down, which will help. Good to hear. Oh, and I've noticed that Akizawa's attendance and grades have improved since you came to be friends. I'd like to thank you for that. I'm surprised you noticed we knew each other. He gives a chuckle as awkward as his smile. This guy really has no idea how to properly act around others. Every facial movement seems like an act of careful but misdirected choreography. Come on now. You could say that having a general idea of who knows whom is part of a teacher's job. Yes, because if you notice that person who is usually absent in class coming into class more often because of a certain other student which is talking to them a bit more, then you can say that there is an indicator as to what is the trigger behind Hanako's coming into class more often. Catching himself before he goes off on a tangent, he loudly coughs into his hand. I'm sure you have things to do, though, so I'll stop you there. Please do think about where you're headed from here, as you don't have long to go before you finish high school. I will. Thanks. The brief talk ended. I take my leave. He goes back to fussing with the teaching materials on his desk. This is one of the times I am envious of Lily, almost maddeningly so. To have one's future so clear and so assured, yet working towards it from such a young age. It's an idea so utterly irreconcilable, however you want to pronounce that word with my own thoughts. I thought it's inconceivable. Mirrored in the present day just as they've always been. Maybe they're just two different words. Walking through the lobby to the cafeteria, I silently resumed my daily routine, having been completely thrown off. It had seemed like a normal day. I arrived in class before most, due to waking early and having become quite adept at chucking down my pills without choking as I get ready for the day. But as students trickled in, one never materialized. Hanako. I step inside, my eyes scanning the expense of the cafeteria in search of a suitable place to take a seat. It's a task made more difficult by the groups of students moving about and busily talking. A hand pounds my head back a couple of times, severely wounding me. I couldn't care less about a corporate to focus my thoughts on my chest in a near automatic reaction. My hand instinctively tightens on my breast and I start going through the steps I rehearse in my mind every other day. Emmy, for goodness sakes, if this is you, then you are so irresponsible. Breathe steadily, in and out. With a measure of relief, I can slowly feel my chest becoming less tense. By the time I look back up, my face is covered in sweat from the experience. Kenji! Ignore his insane ramblings. Like, you're not seeing what he's rambling on about, but it is about Lily and her return to Scotland, thinking it's some kind of, like, data breach and stuff like that. You know what Kenji is like. Kenji. Whichever one it is, Kenji. Oh, Nakai. I stop as I'm about to leave the classroom, turning on the ball of my heel to meet Muto. He's holding out to me a couple of the worksheets we worked on during the day with his long, lanky arm. Would you mind giving these to Aikizawa? I normally ask one of the girls to do it, but I assume you'll be checking on her? For a moment, I briefly considered the possibility of that being more than an innocent prediction. I quickly discard the idea, though, as it's hard to think of him acting in such a Machiavellian way. It's not in his nature. Sure, no problem. Walking up the hallway of the girls' dormitory, several ideas of why Hanako's been absent float around my head. The most obvious of them is just a simple cold. No, it's the day of her birthday. That said, she may not even be sick at all. It's been almost a week since Lily left. Aha! It is the birthday. And despite her at least appearing to be normal, I suspect she's somewhat more insecure about it than she's letting on. Eventually I come to Hanako's dormitory room. Its simple brown doors separate us. Her room's position next to Lily's is extremely convenient, and probably a large contributor to their meeting in the first place. Grimacing slightly at the prospect of her being sick, I rap my knuckles on the door. Silence. I listen intently for any sound of shuffling coming from inside, but I can't hear a thing. I knock on the door again. Slightly harder. Still no answer. How strange. A door opens behind me. A freckled and somewhat scrawny underclassman I don't recognize comes out and is briefly taken off guard by my presence. Hi? Ask about Hanako. Actually, this may be a rather fortuitous meeting. Hey, excuse me, do you know if Hanako has come out of her room today or not? She doesn't seem to be answering. Aikizawa is Aikizawa. Her not answering the door is totally normal. That tall, foreign girl is the only person she'll ever talk to afternoon. She gives a shrug before walking off down the hallway, having much more important matters to attend to than Hanako or me. Her dismissive attitude annoys me. Hanako must have a reputation as a hermit, a reputation that doesn't seem outright undeserved, at least in the time before we'd met. Alright, scratching my head, I make one last attempt at getting Hanako to answer as I knock on the door one final time. Hanako, it's just me. Muta said to give you some stuff. For while the attempt seems just as unsuccessful as the last, before I slip the sheet under her doors, though I can hear the handle rattling. Hello? As the door opens halfway, I do my best to look Hanako over as quickly as possible. It's a task made somewhat more difficult by her oversized gown hiding so much of her. She doesn't look sick, or at least not immediately so. To be honest, I'd have preferred her expression right now. Hi, Hanako. Muta wanted me to give you these since you weren't in class today. I hold up the loose sheets, which she tentatively takes in her hands. The way she moves is weird, devoid of thought, as if she's some kind of mechanical automation rather than a living being. Are you okay? If you're feeling sick or anything, I could get the nurse. It feels almost pitiful to put on such a routine. Get well soon, Axe. I can't think of anything else I could possibly do for her, though. She seems to collect herself a little at the notion, but only a little. I'm fine. Okay. An awkward silence follows, eventually ended by her nodding solemnly in farewell and closing the door. The entire experience feels surreal. More than a little put off, I wander back to my room and hope she'll be better by tomorrow, despite not knowing exactly what's wrong with her. There's nothing wrong with her. It's just the fact that isn't today her birthday, and therefore it would be when something happened. It's a day of celebration, but for her, she couldn't celebrate it with anyone for a long time. Once again, I find myself in front of Hanako's door after another of her unexplained absences from class. Nothing considering this is the second day in a row she's been like this. I'm starting to worry about her. Summoning my willpower, I decided to try one last way to get her to respond. Hanako, if you don't say anything, I'll go get the nurse for you. Go away. But what? It's asked her whether her tones were of depression, anger, or both. Wonder what I could actually do to help her if she doesn't even want help. The message is clear enough. I can't just leave her like this, though. Just sit in her room for days on end. Rubbing my temple in thoughts, I withdraw to my own room to think about how to proceed. Rationality is what's needed here, as an overreaction may just make matters worse. I dig around drawer after drawer on my desk, looking for where I put the damned piece of paper. Aha, time to contact Lilly. Before she left, Lilly told me the number to call her on while in Scotland, and I wrote it down. Now that I need it though, the damn thing is... here. I probably should have just entered it directly into my cell phone, come to think of it. Without further ado, I enter the numbers and anxiously press the call button. The fact the phone rings at all shows I've got a prefix of a call to Scotland right at least. I never made an international call before, so that's some comfort. Eventually the phone picks up. A feminine voice I don't recognise on the other end. It's probably Lily's mother. English. Suddenly find myself unprepared. I realise I can't understand a word she says. I've reduced my limited vocabulary or her heavy accent. I should have anticipated this, since, according to Lily, her mother is a native Scot. I soldier on in the hope that she must know some Japanese, considering it's her daughter's native language. It's Hisao Nakai speaking. An enthusiastic sound of realization can be heard as she recognizes the language. My feeling of relief is immense. Ah, you must be one of Lily's friends from school, correct? Even so, her accent means I have to concentrate to work out what she's saying. Yes, that's right. Pleased to speak to you, Mrs. Sato. It's so nice of her to find someone so polite. Lily dear, it's for you. Her mother seems nice, if a little over-enthusiastic given the mundane situation. There's a small silence as Lily takes her time getting to the phone. In the distance, I can just make out her mother scolding her playfully for just getting up. Hello, Lily speaking. You sound awful. She makes a sound somewhere between a dying animal and a yawn. The one thing I did remember to check before calling was the time zone. It'd be pretty late in the morning over there, so she really has no excuse. Not feeling well? Just tired. What time is it there? Late afternoon. School finished for the day not long ago. You're really not a morning person, are you? I don't need you making fun of it as well. It takes me a measure of restraint not to laugh at a pained grown book. How are you doing over there, then? Bar the mornings? It's been enjoyable. After not meeting them for so long, just having a meal together with my parents is nice. But the pool and the sheer size of the house might have something to do with that as well. Even if they're not in Japan, from the way it sounds, her family must be pretty wealthy to live so luxuriously. Are things alright with you and Hanako? Damn, I was hoping there wouldn't be brought up quite so quickly. I take a moment to try and sort out exactly how to describe the situation without causing her undue worry, but she pecks out on that without a word being said. Hanaka's not well, is she? How do you know? Because today is her birthday. I'd hoped she might have gotten at least a little better after coming to know you, but how is she right now? She missed school yesterday and seems out of sorts when I checked up on her. Today she missed school again and just told me to go away. I've really got no idea what to make of it. Has this happened in the past? Is it related to her scarring in some way? Unfortunately so. Roughly the same thing happened last year when her birthday came up. As far as I can tell, it's because her parents died in the accident that caused the scarring, and Hanako blames herself for their deaths. See, we learned in Hanako's route that Hanako's mother shielded her from the fire in some way, and as a result, Hanako believes that because her mother's death is due to Hanako herself, which is not the case, because if you was a very good parent, no, just even a good parent, you would do anything to ensure your child's happiness, your child's survival, etc. Even if that means the loss of yourself, knowing that you have increased the chances of your child's survivalhood in that kind of scenario. What she says does seem to make sense. If she's blamed herself on her birthday, she may well be ruining that she was ever. Yeah. The fact that Lily seems so in the dark about it, though, almost to the extent that I am, is a surprise. So that's why she lives in the student dorms as well. Has she told you any more about the accident? As close as we've come, she's very barely told me anything about what happened. What I know about it is largely conjuncture. She sounds depressed, almost defeated. Considering the trauma Hanako must have gone through, I really can't fault Lee for not knowing. Nevertheless, she still seems to consider it a personal failing, so don't blame yourself, Lily, with everything she's gone through. I know. Thank you, Hisao. I'm sorry I can't be of more help to you. It's fine. I'll just give it some more thought. Thanks, and have a good time in Scotland. It's nothing. Thank you for taking care of Hanako. Okay, bye. Lily did want to say something else, but declined to do so. Goodbye. And with that, the line goes silent. Amid the seemingly only increased number of questions I can't answer, the most immediate is what Lily was going to say. Oh no. I'm an idiot. She must have thought I was calling to talk with her, but I only asked for help with Hanako. Even more shameful than the thought is the fact that such an appraisal would be largely correct. Well, first for now, I need to at least sort out Hanako and make sure that she's actually eating okay. Well, the occasionally party students give badly hidden glasses a plate of food I carry to the female dormitories. It's hardly a meal to be proud of, only being an instant microwave meal from the convenience store, but it should at least fill her up. Eventually I arrive outside of her room after having to ward off a couple of girls who jokingly tried to pilfer the food I'd taken so long to procure. I decided to forego knocking, since it was proven to be an utterly useless measure and it's somewhat difficult to do with my hands full. Hanako, it's Hisao. I know you're listening. I've got some food for you. Silence, as I expected. I'll leave it beside your door. Please eat it at least, okay? There, I've said my piece, now it's up to her. Putting the plate down, I walked back to my own room to eat my dinner. By the time I returned to Hanako's dormitory, a good hour's passed. Thankfully, there isn't anything to be seen beside the door. I walk back at least somewhat happier that she's eating. If she intends to get through this by herself, then being able to help, even if it's just in such a small way, is at least something. I sit reading the library of the school, turning page after page, barely registering the words written on each out of sheer boredom. With my cheek resting my hand, I can't help noticing the slightly rough feeling against my palm. It won't be long before I need to get a raise. Giving up on reading, I simply let my head drop onto a book in front of me. Things have quieted down considerably since Hanako began attending school again. When she first returned to school, nothing was said nor done that wasn't part of the usual routine, and it's been the same way since. Neither of us desired to bring up her accident, so there simply wasn't any point in pursuing it. Thus a few days went by, the daily grind continuing just as it had before. It's only natural that my mind would wander to other places, and more importantly, other people. The Lily-shaped hole in the daily life of Hanako and me has been pretty noticeable for a while now. I'll be pleased to say that this has allowed me time to refine just what my thoughts on her exactly are, but alas I've had no such luck. It doesn't help that many attempts to do so had led to the troublesome topic of I wanna go. Every time my thoughts drift into that direction, I reflexively try to think about something else. Why did this have to happen now? I turn and look up to the source of a tentative voice coming from behind me. Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb anyone. That's not it. Oh yeah, it's the subject in hand. Yuko isn't startled by the voice, but by the words themselves. I glanced around the orange-tinted room, quickly realizing how silly my apology must have sounded. In the time I spent thinking and lazing about it here, everyone's well and truly left. Library closing? If you don't want to go, I could keep it open a bit longer. It's no trouble at all. Don't worry, I should get going. Anyway, thanks. As I get up again to move up, I feel Yuko's eyes drilling into my back. Is there something wrong? You look depressed. Are you okay? Yuko nervously twists her fingers as she says this, unsure whether she's overstepping her boundaries or not. I can't really tell if she's more worried about my mood or about bothering me. Normally I just shrug it off and assure her that I'm fine, but my reflective mood gets the better of me. Despite being staff, she really doesn't feel as much like an authoritative figure as the others. Yeah, it's just, I guess the best term for it would be relationship problems. Oh, I'm not too good with that kind of thing. My own relationship ended a bit abruptly. But if you want to talk about it, I mean, I could listen, I think. Now I feel kind of bad for bringing it up. She's not that old though, so at least she has a good chance of finding another partner. It isn't like we're in a bad situation right now. We've spent many days together as friends, sometimes going out to do stuff, that kind of thing. But I'm starting to want to do more for her, learn more about her, and be with her more. I'm not sure whether it's actually love or not though, and our friendship as it stands is enjoyable. You shouldn't let that stop you. Sorry. How to say this, I think it's nice that you have a good friendship, but school is going to eventually end. Do you think you'll be fine with not knowing if it could have gone further after you've graduated? I guess that's the crux of the problem. I really have no idea what the answer to that question is. Well, I can't really help you there. What your true feelings are is something you have to decide for yourself. But I think if you do love her, you should definitely say something. After thinking about it really hard, I decided that even though my relationship didn't work out, it's still better that way than never knowing if it might have or not. I never expected Yuko to sound so wise. It only makes me sense that, with more life experience than I, she'd have a better idea about this. Well, I suppose not very much was actually answered. Talking to her has helped get it off my chest, and I have no doubt that I should confess that I really do like Lily. I think Lily's peck on your cheek from the other week or so is that kind of hint. I give a slightly frustrated sigh. If only reading so much actually helped when it comes to situations like this. No matter what kind of reading you do, it doesn't prepare you for love. She gives a girlish giggle, which only reinforces my view of her as being different from the usual staff here. In the end, it all comes down to what will happen after school finishes once again. Considering what happened before I came to Yumako, it feels like being asked to keep up with a field of runners despite having started from a dozen yards behind them, and in worse shape as well. It's just one more motive to get on, to move on from the past. The last thing I need right now is to get too caught up in that and get homesick while I'm at it. Once again, I find myself calling Lily. My phone bill is going to be horrific considering this is international. But it's worth it. Worth. I go over my bills. Worth. But it's worth it. I don't only want to soothe over her feelings from the last time I called. I genuinely want to talk to her again. When the phone finally picks up, I easily recognize the voice on the other end. Satu. Hello, Mr. Satu. May I, speak? Damn, I've forgotten how the rest is supposed to go. It's not encouraged to forget such a small amount of words, even if I didn't spend a long trying to memorize them. May I speak with Lily, please? Hello again, Hisao. Are you teaching yourself English? Just a little. I don't think I'm too good at language in general. Ah, don't say that. Your pronunciation was good. I'll get Lily for you. Just wait a moment. Or in a way, she was being polite to us. I obediently wait as she goes off in search for Lily, the other end going silent. Eventually, a much more awake-sounding Lily than last time answers, the time over there being past noon by now. Hi, Sal, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Good afternoon. Sorry for taking so long. I was outside in the garden. Gardening? Unfortunately, I've found I'm no good at it, so I just smell the flowers. I think my fingers appreciate it more. I take it Hanako's recovered a bit? Yeah, I just made sure she was eating. Eventually, she rights herself. Thanks for the help the other day. I don't think I was really that much help. The main thing is that she's better, though. True. How's life over there, then? It sounds like you've been living in nothing short of a mansion. I wouldn't call it a mansion, but it is a rather large one. But it is rather large, is obviously what she wants to say, though modesty stops her. I'm a little envious, but it is her holiday. It's a nice house to stay in, though. There's a beach near here too, which Akira is especially fond of. She's a swimmer. She's constantly dragging me there to have a swimming competition, which she wins every time. Lee doesn't strike me as very athletic at all, so not being adept at swimming seems logical enough. Though I think actually for a blind person, swimming is one of the better sports. Like, if you have a feeling of your surroundings, like if you go to one of the corners of the swimming pool, you get an idea of the edges, you have a very general sense of which direction you have to swim in order to get to the other side of the pool. The fastest I've ever seen her move is her understandably relaxed pace during her walks to and from the suburbs down the hill from the school. It makes the image of her swimming hard to imagine, but then again, you are tired out more often than Lily is when it comes to walking about and carrying things. Although there is the other matter of Hisao carrying more stuff. The beaches there must look nice. They'd be less crowded than the ones around here at least. Indeed, Akira says the area around here looks beautiful because it's so far outside the city. I only realised what I said after I say it, but it doesn't bother her at all. It's still easy to forget that she can't see when she's not around, despite the time we've been friends. I don't think she wants to treat her any differently, though. That said, the local accent sometimes makes communication a bit hard. It's a constant reminder that this isn't home. While the fact that she doesn't consider her parents' residence to be her home makes good sense, it makes me realise I can't really answer whether the same goes for me. Graduation from Yamako is distant enough to be difficult to view objectively, and I've spent so much time in this small room I've come to accept the dormitory as my new home surprisingly quickly. I guess that would be hard to deal with. Is your knowledge of English holding up? Yeah, miss 100% in my English result. Thankfully I may be fluent, but being in a position where I have to use it often helps in curbing my Japanese accent. So it's been useful practice. I hear you're trying to teach yourself English. More like memorizing a few lines. And failing at even that much. I'm really not cut out for learning another language. My mission of defeat draws an amused giggle. I believe that there are things one chooses to do in life, and also things that are chosen for one to do in life. That's a good analogy. You can take comfort in the fact you're better than me in science and math, at least. All that's helped in is making me Muto's star student. I wouldn't worry about it. They're useful skills for many jobs, right? Yes. NASA. That's what he tells me. His face vertically lit up when I said I'd probably go into a career involving either. We both share a warm laugh at the events that befallen each other on opposite ends of the world. It's nice and reminds me of our simple small talk that I've been missing since she left. As each of us waits for the other to be speaking, I decide to push ahead with my feelings. I can feel my throat tightening slightly. I miss you. The silence on the other end of the phone tells me she's gotten the words their due weight, but as it goes on I can't help but feel more and more apprehensive. Thankfully the silence ends, almost as quickly as it began. I miss you too, Hisao. Goodbye. Goodbye, Lilly. Once again the phone is hung up, simply without any further ado. That light, tentative, almost shy voice, her warm and soft tone. I seem to be lying to myself if I were to say that I don't recognize this feeling for what it is. With thoughts of Lilly dancing on my mind, I start anticipating her return. Today has been a most excellent day. I sit listening to another of Muto's long-winded lectures, my mind wandering far from the scribbles of the dirty blackboard. Since I called Lilly, my mind's been drawn in two directions. Both, roughly, led to the same conclusion. I've started to feel oddly detached from my past life. It's only been a month and a half since I arrived here, yet this school's become a second home. I've gained new friends and contacts, managed to get to grips with the school's lifestyle and culture, and become accustomed to the quirks of my classmates. To become used to a school where disabilities are the norm, rather than the rare exception, still catches me off guard sometimes when I think of it. The same school that's populated by burn victims, amputees, the blind, the deaf, and all manners of disabilities in between. If someone had described the school to me before I'd come, I'd have shrugged it off as an overactive imagination. Even when I first arrived, it felt like the Dutch coming to a strange new land for the first time. It's not strange at all. This is more normal than you realize. The only difference is the physical and learning difficulties of said students. It's amazing how quickly one becomes used to the environment they're forced to live in, really. And now I've even found someone that's got me entirely smitten. What a strange life. You know what? I think I would like to attend this school myself if I could actually transform myself into a universe of fiction and become half my age, actually. Like, having learning difficulties and all that, it's really annoying, but you have to go to a main school which doesn't have that kind of facility to be able to, not handle, but be able to approach people with learning difficulties and be able to communicate in a way in which a person of that nature can understand, but also have more patience by said tutor or other students to be able to learn and adapt and grow. Like, this school is an opportunity for people with these kind of difficulties in life to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet. Or just as a literal figure of speech, not physically. Before my mind can wander any further through, I find a page of lined paper slipped under my distracted face. The garish bright pink ink has no doubt been penned by Misha. What? Don't look so bored, Hai-chan. School's nearly over. 3-day holiday. Thanks. Alright, we get Saturday and Monday off. Can't complain about having less school, I suppose. I uncap my pen and scribble on the page before covertly passing it back to her. Flickering my eyes to the front of the class every now and then, Muto continues scrawling away arcane equations and formulas on the board. I guess you have something planned? Misha takes the paper back and hunches over it comically, even for her tongue poking through the side of her mouth. Did she misinterpret my expression as depressed, or is she trying to cheer me up? Student council work with Sai-chan, of course. You're still not brooding over that, surely. But Ai-chan could have helped us poor. You're not lonely, you've got each other! I'd lend you a hand for today if I weren't going to be busy. Oh, naughty Hai-chan. I'm just going to meet Lilly with Hanako. I don't know what you've got going through your head. So Lily's back? Yeah, she's coming on the evening flight with her sister, so she'll be back in school next week. After she takes the note back and begins to write, I look up to see an unwelcome sight. While I frantically try to silently catch Mish's attention, Muto confidently strides through the gap between the desks from the front of the class, his intent gaze focused directly on her. She suddenly stops writing as his tall figure casts an impossibly long shadow over the page. I... He silently takes a piece of paper from her and begins to read. Sweating bullets, I quickly glance around the class, noting their complete silence. Of course, it would just have to be one thing that actually gets their attention during the lesson. After a scant few seconds examining the page, he rolls the paper up into a small tube and lightly bops Mish over the head with it. Half an hour until you can hop off to Student Council. I think you can hold on until then. Mish's face cracks as the entire class erupts into laughter. He might well be awkward, but he knows how to handle excellently. I'd probably feel sorry for her if I weren't as busy stifling my own laughter. Hisao, is that one it? No, I think that's some foreign airline. And so the third aircraft that's not on comes into land. For the past half hour, we've been whittling away the time with small snippets of pointless chatter. The Akira's flight has been delayed, and at this rate, it'll probably be dark before their plane arrives. Is that one it? No, the company colours are on. Hanaka's eyes flutter left and right, following the trickle of people in and out of the huge glass doors ahead of us. Fortunately, nobody pays her much heed. Their attention apparently directed towards greater things. Maybe that one is it? No, I think that's... Hold on a minute. I think that one might be it after all. And it takes still some more time before the billboard changes their flight status to disembarking. A loud yawn sneaks up on me, not allowing enough time to stifle it. My sleep patterns have once again been all over the place, likely due to a mix-up worrying about Hanako and the side effects of my medication. Hisao, over there. I look to Hanako, then follow her gaze to the airport door. Oh, Lilly, they're here. Really? Hello, you two. We all call out to each other in greeting, quickly shuffling over to the side to avoid blocking the passage of others. Lilly! Aww. Hanako jumps forward to hug Lilly, a wide smile on her face, being all that's needed to see her happiness as Lilly returns. Lilly simply smiles in return, her voice soft. It's wonderful to meet you again, Hanako. As the two give each other a hug well deserved after all that's happened while she was gone, I turn to Akira. Yo, you're pretty late. Yeah. There's a really bad storm over the airport. We got drenched just going from the car to the door. I guess you appreciate the weather here more then. Welcome back to you too, Lilly. Hanako breaks off from Lilly as I speak. For a long time, neither of us say a word. Contrary to what I thought of her homecoming would be like, the atmosphere feels awkward, almost stifling. Both of us try to guess each other's feelings, not quite sure about what should be said. Damn, but it's exactly what I feared when I'd thought of trying to move things forward between us. Lilly runs her hand through her fair hair and awkwardly twirls one of her bangs in her fingers, clearly trying to think of how best to react. Eventually, thankfully, Lilly gives a small sigh and breaks the silence. Thank you, Hisao. It's nice to be back. Are you okay? You look tired. Evidently not recollecting herself all that well, she quickly waves her hand in front of her face to stave off any concern Hanako may have over her. I'm okay, really. It's just a bit of jet lag. Weak. You don't have any? She simply gives a big grin, puffing out her modest chest. I feel absolutely fine. That's not fair. Oh well. Yeah, shouldn't take too long to get rid of it. Ah, that's right. Hisao? Yeah? Don't we have a holiday from school soon? I'd have forgotten if Mish hadn't reminded me this morning. We've got a 3-day weekend starting from tomorrow. Akira playfully bumps her elbow lightly to Lilly's side, grinning. Told you wouldn't miss it. You have something planned? If neither you nor Hanako are busy, I've got no plans, so something to do would be appreciated. Hanako? No, nothing. That's good. I was thinking we could go to my family's summer house for a bit of quiet over the break. We've rarely used it recently, though, so we'd have to dust things off a little while we were there. Oh, where is it? Up north, in Hokkaido. The place is practically deserted, so it should be a nice quiet break for you guys. Are we going to go to anywhere in particular en route? You're not coming? Nah, got a little holiday of my own set up with my boyfriend. I lower my eyes at her suspicion of her intentions. It sounds like we just clean up the summer house for you. That's perhaps a valid conclusion. Both of us zero in on Akira, her face somewhat evasive. Looks like we were right. That's just a convenient bonus. Really, me and the guy left it in pretty good condition last time we were there, I promise. Now then, I'm out of here. Already, Akira? She quickly turns and walks away, her hand held high. See you in a few days, guys. God damn it. Lee and I can only slide her hasty retreat. It does sound like it would be a nice place to go. Lily gives an enthusiastic nod, taking her carry bag in one hand and placing her other on Hanako's shoulder for guidance as we begin to make our way to the taxi area. After the through showers of the past few days, spending a weekend in the country alone with her and Hanako sounds like a dream. Fracas. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Fracas. The more I think about it, the more sure I am, this will be the right time and place to confess my feelings to her. Oh yeah, the weekend away. The long weekend away. No wait, if we're going to go to Shizune's place, then Akira would still be there with them. The morning chill wraps itself around my shivering body. I huff into my cupped hands to desperately try and stave off the cold as we mill around on the station platform. Lily's clothing looks rather ill-suited for the temperature around us. I can only hope it's indicative of what she expects the weather to be like at our destination. Damn it, Lily. Why do we have to get here so early? Unfortunately, the train schedule is against us. The next train to Hokkaido is at 2 in the afternoon. Great. Just great. I pause a moment to wipe some sleep out of my eyes, and he promptly takes advantage of the opening. Cheer up, Hisao. Once we get there, it'll be much warmer. Why not just take the bullet train? A normal train's going to take hours to get us there, so we might as well have taken the Shinkansen line as far north as it goes, just switch at the end. There's a certain charm to older trains, wouldn't you agree? I'd agree if I wasn't freezing the morning cold because we decided to take one. I'm sorry, Hisao. Sorry? What for? I was the one who suggested taking a... Well then, it's settled! Hanako, for goodness sakes! Wait to make me feel guilty. All I could do is sigh and cover my face with my hand. It's fine. I'm just grumbling. My, Hanako. You needn't shoulder all the blame yourself. Even without your suggestion, I still have opted for the same vein. Thankfully, with quick deception from Lily, I take a quick gander around the station. Aside from us, the train's platform is all but deserted, the morning dow of settling on the empty benches. I guess no one else was masochistic enough to brave the very early morning. Though someone was, they'd more than noticed the huge bags both Lily and Hanako brought with them. What the hell do they need for a 3-day weekend? Just what did you have to pack into those things anyway? The bags? She paused a moment and tilts her head in thought. A change of clothing, raincoat, underwear, sleepwear, a number of books? A number of books? You make it sound as if I'm unprepared. You brought less? Underwear and a pack of cards, that's it. And my pills, but never mind that. No pajamas? Damn, I knew I forgot something. As I ruffle my hair in frustration, Lily sighs. There should be clothes you could use there. Akira still occasionally goes there, after all, and I think some of our parents' clothing is still in storage. I don't think there'll be any problem with you borrowing a set of pajamas if need be. Thanks. Still, I don't mind just sleeping in my normal clothes. For 2 days? Yeah, good point. Not really, though 2 days would be borderline. It's more that looking even a little like a slob would be unacceptable while in the presence of 2 girls. As we leisurely talk on the station platform, an announcement sounds from the loudspeakers, loudly hurried in our right rifle. Looking past Lilly and Hanako though, the train's still way out of sight. A quick check on my watch is enough to see that it's the one we'll be taking. The 5:30 train was ours, right? Correct. Either of you want me to take your bags? Mine's not exactly heavy. My, that's very gentlemanly of you, Hisao. Don't accept too reluctantly now. Sorry. As I bend down to pick up Lily's large bag, I look up to see Hanako picking up hers. You fine with that? A silent nod's the only answer. I'm starting to get the feeling that by the trip's end, I'll be able to count every sentence she said on one hand. That's rather harsh. Hey, with the morning landscape passing by the window and the occasional rattle of the train bumping the carriage around, I try to focus my attention on the aging playing cards held in my hands. And Hanako does not look that impressed after all. I'll raise you 5. She scrunches her face up and leans over to Lilly conspiratorially, the two exchanging a few whispered words. Considering how often this has happened, I'm coming to doubt Hanako's grasp of how to play poker. It doesn't seem to disturb Lily's reading though, her hands flitting over each page with only occasionally corrections to account for the train's bumping and rocking. My collection of chess pieces that we're using as chips is steadily growing away, so it doesn't really bother me. Looking around us, our carriage is almost as empty as the station platform we'd waited for the train itself on. Only a handful of people can be seen, looking mostly like tourists and couples on holiday. While the two continue their less than clandestine strategizing, a small boy looks over the seat and stares at me. Hoping he doesn't begin to stare at Hanako, I simply give him a wave and smile. Frankly, he retreats back to his seat after finding me far too boring to waste his attention on. I'll see you and raise you another 5. Damn, you got me, I fold. I've been bluffing, and she's caught me. Hanging my head, I push over a large portion of my winnings. Hanako looks absolutely delighted, sorry, not deflated. And even if Lilly keeps her attention focused on her reading material, I can see the smirk on her face. They're both extremely pleased about the goddamn winnings, okay? For a moment I try to work out what Lily's reading, but the cover is too faded to read beyond the fact that Roman letters are on it. A pity I can't read the braille above the printed title. What are you reading, Lilly? That title looks like it's in English. That's right. It's And Then There Were None, an old British story. I could read it to you if you'd like. She extends the offer with a grin, obviously in jest. I think I'll pass, thanks. After a seemingly endless trip, we finally reached the promised land of the Satu summer house. Even after the train trip, the walk up seemed to take forever. Despite my grumblings though, I'd have never guessed the sight that would be in store for us once we travelled that long, deserted, yellow brick road. It looks more like a farmhouse than the everyday house I imagined, small in size and surrounded by trees and bushes. Natural offerings. An empty expanse of wheat fields and farming land could be seen as we walk up, the fencing only consisting of rickety old wooden planks. It really drives home how far we are from the major cities, and is a sight that feels antithetical to the environment I grew up in. The only thing that doesn't surprise me is its Western styling. Wow, it's amazing out here. It's wonderful. That's nice to hear. While Akira may have said that she's kept the house in reasonable condition, I was worried that we might have different standards of reasonable. It looks like there isn't another soul for miles. I thought Kira would be the type to keep to the city. Lilly frowns her brow in thought, seemingly collecting almost forgotten knowledge. From memory, there's a small town not too far ahead. Other than that, though, this is largely just old farmland. Akira and I stayed in our parents' house, which was in the nearest city for a while, but after they left, we decided to move into a smaller, more easily maintainable house. To find a place like this in Japan nowadays is kind of anachronistic. Well, this town does have quite a bit of history. I'll look down the street one last time before getting back to the task at hand. Shall we go in then? I'm parched. It was a long walk to get here. Lily gives an enthusiastic nod, with 3 of us lugging our bags into the house. As soon as we set foot inside, Hanako and I start looking around, taking in every detail of where we'll be staying for the next few days. All the artifacts of another's life stopped mid-motion are around the house, such as the television guide lying beside the counter it was on, and pans in the adjoining kitchen still sitting on the stove. It's a strange feeling, really, as if we were stepping into Akira's life for a brief moment before leaving in a couple of days just as we'd come. Of course, the more mundane reality is that she just hasn't cleaned up after herself that well. Where shall we put our bags? I'll show Hanako our bedroom. You can put yours here if you like. You mean I don't have the same bedroom as... Of course not! Of course not, for goodness sakes, man, that would be embarrassing to ask. That's so shameful, Hisao. Hanako flowers to a full blush and Lily takes her cheek in her hand. Oh my, how bold. You two. Hold on. If I'm to leave my bags here, where will I be sleeping? Well, seeing as we lack a guest bedroom, the convertible futon, huh? Sorry, Hisao. I sigh, laminating my place on the bottom run of sleeping location priorities. I guess there's no other choice. Lily leaves to show Hanako to their bedroom, so I take a small tour of my surroundings after I drop the bag on the floor. The kitchen, just like the living room, is fairly modest. The rustic nature of the wooden furnishing drives home just how far we are from civilization. Yeah, that was a rather bold move of Hisao to make. Hanako looking fully blushed and Lily realising how bold that was, but didn't take any offence to it. Returning to the living room, I decide to try out the television until they get back. With a touch of a remote, it immediately flickers to life, apparently set to a news channel. Almost flopping down from exhaustion rather than sitting, I lay back and watch, and watch, and watch, and sleep. Hi, Sal. I'm sleeping. I'm still thinking about the rejection you two made. Hello. I quickly blinked to wake myself up, Lily and Hanako having returned minus their bags. From the Hokkaido night sky visible outside the windows, it looks like I've drafted off to sleep. Looking at the well-maintained clock, it's already 10. You found the television then? Yeah, it really does feel nice and homely here. I'm glad you like it. You were already out like a light when we came back after unpacking our things, so we didn't have the heart to wake you sooner. Judging from her giggle, I must sound funny when I sleep. I'll swiftly decide not to inquire. There's some dinner waiting for you in the kitchen. Hanako gives a deep yawn, only just remembering to cover her mouth at the last second. My, are you tired? I didn't get much sleep last night. Was it exciting then? Sorry, was it nerve-wracking to feel about today? And what am I saying? Were you not able to sleep because of the overexcitement for today? I'm pretty tired too. It was a long walk up here and it's getting pretty late. If that's the case, I suppose we should retire for the night. Good night, Hisao. Good night. Night. With that, they quietly turn and walk back into their bedroom. Rubbing my eyes, I sigh. I wonder if I'll be able to get back to sleep after being woken up. I suppose I'll eat something and watch some more TV quietly before going to bed. Is he still sleeping? I think so. I'm not. I am, however, incredibly tired. It's getting late in the morning. I know that. He likely stayed up to watch television. I could hear it from our bedroom, only because I couldn't get to sleep. Should we wake him? Don't do that, Hanako, please. No, we should leave him. I doubt he'll want to be woken early if he didn't get much sleep during the night. Thank you, Lily. Besides, he sounds so peaceful. It would be a shame to wake him if he's like this. Keep a straight... Keep a straight face. Keep a straight face, Hisao. It is nice you care so much. Hanako, could you go to the fridge and fish out what's needed to make lunch? Alright, just the vegetables and rice? That should be enough. We only need something simple, so we can eat in town later. Hanukkah's footsteps on the carpeted floor can be heard, moving away from the living room as they do. I feel Lily's hand gently rest on my chest. It takes a titanic effort not to react, but something about her makes me think she knows I'm awake. A long silence passes. Very for in mind of that gentle outstretched hand lying upon my chest. After an indiscernible amount of time, Lily withdraws her hand. Good morning, Hisao. Conceding defeat all too easily, I prop myself up and rub my eyes. How'd you know? Your breathing was off. While that makes sense, she couldn't have needed that long to work it out. Knowing her hearing, she likely knew that before laying her hand on me. If you want to sleep more, you should really go to bed here. I heard the television going long into the night. Sorry about that. My medications have been interfering with my sleep for a while now. Even if I'm tired, I have trouble actually sleeping. I'm sorry for bringing it up, Hisao. What do we do here, honestly? I think we should actually just, address the elephant in the room, Address it. Come on, you worry about me more than I do at times. It just means I have to sleep a bit longer, that's all. But still, I'd say that I look absolutely fine, despite the bags under my eyes, but guess that wouldn't have a lot of meaning for you. She gives a sigh of consternation before trailing off with an amused chuckle, giving up the point. If you say so, please do take care of yourself, Hisao. Go on, Hanako could use some help. She moves to protest, but bluntly acquiesces and disappears to the kitchen, her hand running along the smooth white walls as she slowly walks. For a while I sit and watch television in an attempt to wake myself a little more, but it's futile. I don't have anything better to do, so I follow Lily's lead. As I round the corner, I see Hanako and Lilly's backs turned, quietly cutting food on the granite-coloured counter. I am temporarily engrossed as I watch Lily guiding the knife down carefully with her finger on the cabbage she's cutting, each slice delivered slowly but with precision. She seems a little slow, because even though she can't see what she's doing, it's a small wonder she could cook at all, let alone for both her and Hanako. Hi Hanako, Lily, want any help? Is that a morning high sound? Lily jerks back in surprise before turning around, her yelp immediately drawing Hanako and me to her side. What's... A small trickle of scarlet flows down from her pale fingertip, the knife having cut just deep enough to draw blood. With the television sound masking my footsteps, she must have not noticed me coming. To compensate for having to use touch to guide everything she does during cooking, she must need to pay extra attention. Lily! Don't worry, Hanako, it's just a small wound. You should still get a band-aid on it, at least until it stops bleeding. First aid stuff would be in the bathroom, right? I think so. Will you be okay here, Hanako? I frown at how little heed she's paying to herself as Hanako gives a quick, almost automatic nod. It's fine. I can keep making lunch. An awkward silence reigns as I set the bottles of antiseptic and box of band-aids on the side of the sink, Lily's finger held out to me to treat. The lid of the bottle comes off with minimum of resistance, and the small ball of cotton I soak in the liquid stains a pale green. Okay, hold still. This will probably hurt a bit. She gives a small nod as I take hold of her hand to steady it. With all the tenderness I could muster, I gently bring the dampened wad to the small red line. I wonder if she intently did this in a way. What? I've barely touched it. Sorry. I give a sigh, both her reaction to settle my own nerves. Her pain tolerance is startlingly low. I would tell you to man up, but I can't really do that. As she gives a small giggle, I take advantage of her momentary distraction, gently press the cotton against her fingers a few times. Thankfully, it's enough to do the job. We both settle somewhat as I bring the band-aid over the tip of her finger, covering the wound while making sure not to get it stuck to her fingernail. There. Finish. You can move now. Taking a hand from mine, she gently clasps it in the other. Thank you. It's no problem. It's the least I could do after causing you to hurt yourself up before. She lowers her head slightly at the apology, absent-mindedly rubbing her hand in what seems to be embarrassment. I really don't mind. Her answer doesn't seem to make much sense, given that what happened is pretty clearly my fault. I can't help grimacing at her. Despite that her dainty smile still holds, she must not like being reminded of the limitations her lack of sight imposed on her. It's something I can't possibly fault her on. I've fallen prey to the same kind of feelings before. Despite my condition not being nearly as ubiquitous in my life. I've never seen that word in my life before. Neither of us any the happier. We head back to the various smells of cooking food coming from the kitchen. From the kitchen, I lay out the plates of food, steam slowly rising from the well-cooked rice and curry dishes, while Hanako lays out the cutlery. You can never go wrong with curry. Unless, of course, meat isn't cooked. Or, of course, as well. Actually, you know what? Vegetarian curries are just as good as meat curries. Knife one side, fork in the oven. Western. How perfectly fitting for someone like Lily. As we take our seats, taking careful heed of the dark red tablecloth hanging below our knees, Lily emerges from the kitchen. In her hands are 3 glasses and a bottle of wine. As I recall our previous running with that devilish elixir, I hide my face in my palm. Alcohol? Seriously? She paused. She reaches a table, a playful grin perched on her face. Akira specifically gave permission to take a bottle from her collection. Not only does she give alcohol to minors, she even lets them piffle their own. The perfect model of a responsible adult, Akira is not. More to the point, though, is that this is hardly a meal deserving of alcohol. It's the occasion itself, so stop complaining about it. I was starting to think Lily's the type to easily become hooked on things. That's not really the problem. I don't have any qualms with it, but didn't you have a bad experience with it last time? Last time was likely due to drinking too much, so a single glass shouldn't prove a problem. Think of it as a learning experience. I can't recall many learning experiences that made me feel rotten before putting me to sleep, but I'll take your word for it. She dips an uninjured finger inside to feel the liquid level, tip against the bottom as the liquid rises up. The white of her finger almost seems to glow as the sunlight hits it, the delicate outline blurred and refracted by the glass. Her fingers are definitely longer than mine, the kind I'd think more suited to a pianist than a teacher. Yep, long fingers are definitely advantageous for a pianist. She'd likely have done well if she'd learned how to play. I'm sure there are ways in which a blind person could learn how to play the piano, because you'd still read the piano instructions in Braille. I mean, you can learn other instruments in Braille, like let's say the flute, for example. Thank you very much, Haruka from Venus Improbable Dream. We quickly dig into our meal, forks and knives, clattering against plates. None of us are particularly eager to speak while eating. Lily altogether too reserved for such a thing. Hanako probably too shy to start a conversation, and I too busy savouring the food. Such a pedestrian activity, eat together at a table. It seems so utterly normal, yet it makes me realise how long it's been since I've done something like this. Exactly. Just the 3 of us, sitting around a single table, eating as if we're a malformed family. Oh, come on now. Maybe this trip as far away from everything as we are was worth it. It takes quite a long time, but eventually we all finish our surprisingly filling meal. The wine, thankfully, has little effect given we've only had a glass or 2 each. I slump back into the seat, rubbing my stomach contentedly. I'm stuffed. Lily pats her mouth with a napkin twice. Only twice. And with evenly timed intervals in between. It's hard to tell sometimes whether how she acts is a well-trained routine or a well-rehearsed act. I think I must be as well. Do you like it, Hanako? It was nice. Now that we're all fed, shall we be off? Off? Where? To town, obviously. Ah, you weren't privy to the discussion between Hanako and me earlier. I get the impression she's having a subtle dig at my sleeping in. We'll be going to the nearby town nearby, whichever one. I guess I should be expected two girls to take a holiday as an excuse to go shopping, no matter where on the planet they might be. I am interested to see more around the north though, so this can only be a good thing. Sounds good. How long's the walk in then? It's supposed to be around a mile to a mile and a half. Nearby, huh? Great! Just great. Oh, this is beautiful scenery. Like scenery I'm used to in my area, although not as mountainous. As we climb up the path surrounded by trees and undergrowth, I watch Lilly and Hanako walking ahead. The slight breeze all but whisks away the sound of Lily's cane gently tapping on the ground. I notice that Lily's since removed the band-aid now, that the bleeding of her finger has stopped. A deep, lung-filling breath of the fresh country air makes me wish all the harder that the air around here had been quite so clean. It can't have even been half a mile, but I'm already working up a sweat. It isn't a pleasantly cool day though, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself for it. Hey Lilly, how well do you know this town anyway? Since I spent quite a few of my vacations up here until I entered Yamako, I'd say I know it fairly well. We used to drive there once a weekend then. How I wish Akira was here to drive us now. My legs, but more importantly my heart. I quickly take a moment to rub my hands a couple of times, staving off the oddly cold fiend in them. Did you like it up here? I'd say it was nice during winter, but as you can work out, summers get a little too hot for comfort. It's nice and quiet at least. My family's real house is quite far south. When they live in Japan, my parents gave it to Akira and me. Only Akira lives there now, after my moving into Yamako. Well, quiet certainly describes this place, though lonely is how I'd put it. Other than the prophesized small backward, there isn't another soul for miles around. Coming from a home nestled deep within the big city is certainly different. I think that if I'd not come to Yamako, staying out in the country like this would be too much of a change to get used to. Yeah, because it's like Yamako is the in-between point. This is really rural. After getting accustomed to the school's isolation though, the idea of living in a place such as this has become almost inviting. To be somewhere away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan centres. So hi Sal, have you been to Hokkaido before? Now I used to live down south and we never had any field trips or holidays up this far. Well, it's a new experience for you then. Yeah, it is. I'm surprised at how nice it feels here. How about you, Hanako? She shakes her head from side to side. It's my first time too. As we continue walking, I begin to feel pins and needles in my legs. It's so disturbing given there's no reason for it to be happening. Could you two hold on a minute? For a moment, I just need to... Is anything wrong? No, I've just got pins and needles in... Those are not pins and needles, my man! My vocal cords suddenly become taut as my chest tightens instantaneously. I quickly pull my upper arm over it, trying to quell the shot of pain spreading throughout my entire body. Hi, Sal? Lily's face is only mildly concerned, not knowing the site which Hanako's recording from. I'm fine. Just tired. I remove my arm from my chest and force myself to get... Don't force yourself! It's just a minor heart flutter, so it'll pass like the others. Stop it! It only takes a couple of steps before my body violently revolts against me. My legs suddenly begin to give way underneath me, and all the tension in my knees seeming to evaporate. Before I can react, they usually give way under my weight, leaving me only just enough time to brace myself and fall onto all fours. Ah, damn. Hi, As I look up till I realise my face is still taut with pain, only adding that much more hurt to our worrying. Hi, Sal. Hanako, tell me what's going on. Hanako, tell me. Hisao quickly moves to my side as Lee almost panics, having little clue as to exactly how bad a condition I'm in. While she stands there petrified, I lower my face and take a deep breath. I come to a realization that makes me endlessly irritated with my stupid self. With all the excitement of my new surroundings, I entirely neglected to take my medications last night or even this morning. God damn it, you're so irresponsible! Taking another breath, the acute pain in my chest begins to die down as suddenly as I had arrived. Thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. As it does, I become acutely aware of the sweat by now pouring off of my face and the two scared girls around me. Hisao? I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. I scrub my brow in an effort to level myself up. Hanaka's arm is quickly moving to catch me if I fall as I stumble a bit before regaining my balance. I look up to Lily and Hanako, worry written on both their faces. I feel awful. Utterly awful. I think we should go back. Realizing the futility of protesting, I look away in frustration. Fine. Damn it. That was bad. You should have taken your medication, goddammit! I open my eyes groggily, completely bereft of energy, for while I simply lie down lifelessly, staring at the scene as I review the events of the morning in an attempt to organise my force. We went to walk to town. My heart nearly gave way. We came back, I took my pills, I slept. I can only remember each period of time as a snapshot, but the timeline is clear enough. The memory of the girls' faces I struggle to stand is an unpleasant one, stinging my feelings harshly. If I look at the scene hard enough, I can imagine the tiled edges and small damples of the scene in a hospital. That fact alone is enough to make me sit up and try to pull myself together. I scratch the back of my dishevelled hair, glance around the room. Lily and Hanako are nowhere to be seen, and the television's turned off. The clock above it says it's pretty late in the afternoon. The noticeably reddened sky outside the windows confirms it further. I turn and pick myself off the futon, swaying slightly as I put my arms out for balance. I suppose I'd better go look for the girls to see if they're alright. As I look out the window, I faintly see something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I could just make out the shape of a person's figure. Her long blonde hair, swaying with a faint breeze, makes her almost seem to melt into the bright yellow of the wheat field. Without a second thought, I leave the room and follow the lone apparition. That's beautiful. The brightness of the setting sun assaults my freshly woken eyes, forcing me to avert them until they adjust. The long yellow strands of wheat brush against my legs as I wade through them, the densely grown field making it hard to advance. Regardless, my eyes stay fixed ahead, true to that solitary figure. Within minutes I reach her, meters behind her turned back. Lily? She's simply not. Where's Hanako? She's in bed. She went to sleep after I calmed her down. She says it was matter-of-factually with as few words as possible, as if saying any more was strictly forbidden. There's something different about her. Her normally confident figure seems oddly fragile, her body offering no resistance to the breeze blowing her skirt. The strands of wheat swaying from side to side while a deafening pause passes, the only sound being their rustling. As we stand in the field alone, I know what I have to ask. What's wrong, Lily? You're not acting like you usually do. Remember when I talked of my family, Hisao? Your family? I look downwards in thought, sifting through my scattered memories. The event seems to leap ready to hand when I search for it. Oh no. I search for it raised to the surface as soon as it was recalled. After Hanaka's birthday party, she gives a simple nod. It were nice back then. You and I celebrated with Hanako, simply sharing presents, talking, having fun together. It was almost as if we were a family. One small, misshapen family. I thought that could just go on forever. Just the three of us, happily together. But she takes a long breath, a slight shakiness to it, just barely audible through the moving air. Even if my family is so far away, as long as we were together, that was all I needed. I don't want to lose you, Hisao. I didn't even realize how afraid I was of losing someone else until today. I'm sorry, Lily. I know my body's weak, but even then I make the most stupid of mistakes. Don't apologize. Please don't apologize. Lily? She turns to me, her pale cheeks stained with tears. One misguided step after another, she stumbles towards me, her arms held out in search of so much as a faint brush against me. Aww. The wheat fields and mountains behind just make this scene so wonderful. My heart doesn't race nor pound as I step towards Lily, gently taking and steadying her in my arms as she quickly clutches to me, sobbing. Sobbing? With her face trembling against my shoulder, the next words from her mouth are the last I expected. Wow. You love Hisao? I love you, Hisao. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Don't go away, I beg of you. Never ever go away. I love you, so please. So, that's why she's been acting like this. That tender voice when I called her. Her thoughtless concern at the slightest pain I might feel. After having been left in Japan without her family and with only Akira, Hanako and me around, she was afraid of losing yet another person who was close to her. She was genuinely worried about me, for me. It's a strange feeling, a mix of surprise and sorrow, yet also the deepest gratitude I think I've ever felt. The only reaction I could muster among my conflicting emotions is a calm sigh. You idiot. Hi, Sal? For a fleeting moment, I feel her body become still. The only movement to be felt is the calm afternoon breeze. I said it before, didn't I? It's only natural to feel concerned about those around you. I'm still here. And I'll always be here because I want to see you more each day, to share in your happiness, to support you in your sadness. But most of all, I'll still be here because I want to see you smile, your true smile. A single gust of wind rustles the long strands of wheat. A second's silence passes. Smile when you want to smile. Cry when you want to cry. I love you, Lily, so you don't have to hold back anymore. Ah. With that, her arms clutch my back as tightly as she can, her face buried beside mine. Her tears fall down my back as she cries unrestrainedly, as the last of her resistance melts away. Hi, Sal, hi, Sal, hi, Sal. I close my eyes and bring my head down to her shoulder, holding her shaking frame tightly. It's okay, Lily. I'll never go away. I promise. We slowly walk back to the house, holding each other tightly as we take a seat inside. Lily leans her head onto my shoulder as I put my arm around her waist. Neither of us have anyone to break the silence. With our eyes shut, it's hard to work out whether she's fallen asleep. Not that I mind. The warmth of her body leaning against me, the softness of her hand delicately held in mine. For a long time, we sit leaning against one another, sharing our warmth and feelings as night eventually begins to settle in. Lily's gentle, soft voice ends the silence. Thank you, Hisao. Thank you for returning my feelings. Did you think I wouldn't? There was the possibility. I take a deep breath and thought. That much was only my fault. It's funny, actually. I was thinking of telling you about my feelings sometime soon. I guess in that way you saved me the effort. She raised her head a little and gives a tiny amused giggle. I smile at how earnest it is, so girlish in its lightness. She collects herself soon afterward, her hair resting against my shoulder. Feeling a bit better? She gives a small nod. You are thoughtful, Hisao. That's why I like you. I'm sorry like this. As much as I didn't want to make you concerned for me, I couldn't do anything to prevent it. Don't apologize for it, please don't. That's what friends do. Lily? Have I ever apologized for my blindness, even once? You can't help the way you were born, Hisao. There's no point in apologizing for who you are. She says this with surprising conviction. In the end, it was perhaps this mentality which spurred her to befriend me in such a short time, in addition to her motherly instincts. She did seem to become trusting very quickly, but I never questioned why. Now it seems obvious she did so to help me as I went through one of the lowest points of my life. I moved to respond, but cut myself off as I feel her fingers run gently through my hair. I feel their soft and delicate touch moving downwards to trace the contours of my face, her palm finally settling onto my cheek. You are a beautiful person, Hisao. Please, don't ever apologize for that. For a moment, I'm utterly speechless. I slowly bend my head down, place a tender kiss on her light, voluminous hair. We're a couple of right old folks, aren't we? We are. After a long calm, she speaks again. Hisao? Yes. I wouldn't mind if you... I feel her hand tensing under mine. Trembling slightly, my mouth opens, but try as I might, I can't formulate a response to her proposition. Lily? Before I can say another word, she slips her hand from under mine and gently holds the side of my face once more. Please? I give a peaceful smile, holding her hand against my cheek as I nod a single time. Okay. As I look into her eyes, she leans towards me. Her delicate lips touch mine as she guides herself with her hand. She breaks off not a second later, faintly smiling. I love you, Hisao. We kiss again, this time with both of us meeting the other. While the previous kiss was of love, this is one of lust. Oh my gosh! Too much! Our tongues meet and are breathing heavy. After precious seconds we part, both our faces well and truly flushed. What if Hanako just suddenly walked in? Now. Both of us bring our fingers to our lips in unison, recalling the fleeting feeling, rapidly becoming buried both by our urges and bashfulness. Lee is the first to shift uncomfortably though. What is it? Should we get more comfortable? Okay. Now that she mentioned it, this futon would be a bit too narrow to do much on. Considering the thoughts running through both our minds, it's no small wonder one of us has any measure of foresight left. I take her hands and guide her sideways as I move, the brief and awkward dance ending with both of us tentatively sitting on the floor opposite each other. As I reach forward to pull her top up, she stops after she moves her hands to do the same. You're shaking. I pause for a moment and look at my hands. Sure enough, they're quivering slightly. Whether it's from nervousness or excitement, I'm not sure. I guess I am. So you're as nervous as I am then? I withdraw my hands and sigh, steadying myself. We have plenty of time, so there's no need to rush this. Sorry, it's my first time, so I'm a bit... She giggles shakily, but all confirming what I reasonably deduced by now. It's the same for me. I'm happy we could share this together. I match her smile twofold, leaning forward and taking her body in my arms as she reaches to hug me back. I love you, Lily. You already said that. I can't help grinning in such a situation. She still has her wits about her. Breaking our embrace, we decide to take off our clothing. Was easier this way. I don't doubt it's just an attempt to distract ourselves from our nerves. With slightly stiff hands, I begin to slide the very first button for my shirt. Once we reach the last of our clothes, which end up haphazardly piled behind us, my breath is taken by the sight in front of me. Okay, fishes this time. After being welcomed by a sound, I open my eyes with a measure of reluctance. Turn my head to the left, I find the rain outside sweeps against the window loudly. Spray after wind-blown spray lushed against the grass, as if trying its hardest to make up for the summer's previous heat. I sit up in the futon, holding the back of my neck to try and subdue the pain from my awkward sleeping position. By all accounts, I should be lamenting the turn in weather, given that this is our last day here. The events of yesterday refuse to stop flowing my mind, though. The feeling of holding Lily's crying body in my arms, the rush of lust of hormones that flowed through us as we spent the night together. It seems almost futile to try and rationalize everything that happened. In an attempt to distract myself, I groan and lean over to retrieve my bag without standing, pulling out one bottle after another. I take the daily regime's worth of pills from their containers and swallow them without further ado. It took a surprisingly short amount of time to get used to swallowing pills without water. That said, I suppose the same thing goes for getting used to living in a school for disabled students. Remembering Yamako, I become all the more grateful for having the chance to get away, even if it's just for the shortest of times. I appreciate the chance to spend time alone with Lily and Hanako, away from the bustle of school life. even considering the latest complications. I never thought I'd say it, but the idea of living away from the city is nice. Tranquil area is an inviting one. It's a thought that, barely a year ago, would have seemed simply ludicrous. A flush of pink, no doubt Hanaka's gown, peeks from around the corner. Realise I must look a sight since I've only just woken up. I slap the marine pills to my mouth and run a hand through my hair. Good morning, Hisao.
I replied to a complete forgot I was in the middle of swallowing a particularly large pill, coughing and spluttering and vitally gag on it.
Hisao. After spluttering loudly and tapping my chest a couple of times to force it down, I managed to recover. I'm fine. Sorry, I forgot I was swallowing. So I didn't mean to. I hold my hand up, gesturing for Hanako to stop. I gagged. It's my fault. Morning, Hanako. She paused a moment before bowing reply. And, staggering in behind Hanako is the familiar figure of Lilly, also dressed in her pajamas, with her eyes full of sleep and hair bedragged. She's a sight to behold. Hi, Lilly. Good morning, Hisao. For a while, a silence hangs in the air as neither of us knows what to do. Given what happened last night, we both have managed more than enough reason to be finding the situation awkward. Just how are we meant to react to meeting each other after something like that? The best course of action would probably be to talk to Lilly alone, to set things in order. I'll start making breakfast. Lilly evidently catches on to my train of thought. I'll help. Hanako, could you set the table? She nods, her head disappearing into a cupboard as she quickly goes about her assigned task. I rub a little more sleep out of my eyes as I wander over to the fridge and take out some milk, and he grabs various brightly coloured boxes from some of the lower cupboards to my side. While we make the rather bland-looking meal, I whisper something more quietly than usual. Knowing Lilly's hearing, she wouldn't have any trouble catching what I say. Are you okay, Lilly? About last night? She gives a delicate nod, her expression weak. Though her tiredness surely plays a part, she seems generally unsure about what's happened between us and how to move ahead. I can't say I blame her, considering my feelings are the same. I'm sorry, Hisao. I wasn't thinking straight yesterday. I never stopped to consider you or Hanako, and I even went as far as... She's winding herself up. With her hands and voice both tightening, I give her a gentle bump to try and lighten up the situation. You don't have to apologize. I said I liked you as well, after all. But As her composure begins to falter, it becomes obvious there's no alternative. Tentatively, I gently embrace her tall frame. She offers no resistance at all, painfully putting back, just from the edges of her emotions. Despite our reassuring embrace lasting only a matter of seconds, I notice Hanako wordlessly watching. The plate in her hand hovers inches above the table. Her action holds it midway by the side. Damn it, Hanako! The clatter of utensils against plates is the only sound to be heard as we silently eat. Whereas, before only two of us may have been unsure of ourselves, the entire situation has changed. After weeks of blissful friendship, winning away the days with shared meals and chatter with little meaning, the relationship of Lilly and me, no, that of all of us has irreversibly changed. I can't date this, Lilly. She suddenly nods, gently laying her spoon onto the plate in front of her. Neither of us knows exactly how we regard each other, let alone how Hanako would view us. This might seem abrupt, but I've confessed to Hisao. For a moment, Hanako looks almost confused, precisely the reaction I thought she would have. She eventually nods, her spoon still in her mouth as she does. Did you accept? I did. She gives a smile so large and so earnest, I find myself blushing. I think it's the brightest I've ever seen her expression look. Then I'm happy. I'm really, really happy. I'm sorry for not telling you anything about it before. Things have been complicated. Hanako shakes her head from side to side empathetically, apparently forgetting in her rush that Lilly couldn't possibly notice. She begins fiddling with her fingers, looking a little more nervous than she did before. To be honest, I began to think that you might like each other a while ago. At first I didn't really know what to think about it, but I decided in the end that if my friends are happy, then I'm happy. I was really glad to have another friend when we met Hisao, so you finding love through him is even better, right? A feeling of relief at her acceptance of our relationship falls over me like a wave. The same happens to Lily, judging by her expression. Thank you, Hanako. I really appreciate you being so understanding. Lily's voice still sounds slightly apologetic, or at least unsure. That doesn't escape Hanako, who appears lost in thought for a few moments before turning to me. Hi, Sal. Do you mind if Lily and I go outside for a bit? Ah, no, feel free. Hanako? Hanako gets up from her seat, taking Lily's hand and almost dragging her from the table in her excitement. Considering Lily's typically slow and steady pace, Hanako's haste makes her footing awkward, and she almost loses balance a couple of times. It's a pretty amusing sight, leaving me wordless as I watch them disappear out of the door. It's only now that I realise the rain stopped, being replaced by a sky seemingly all the more vivid and bright to make up for the morning's drab grey expression. For Hanako, this must be a pretty big revelation. Lily and I are really the only people she associates with, almost as if we were parents in her own stead. I suppose that might well be the best way to describe the relationship we share. A father, mother and daughter, all playing around in our own make-believe family as if it could last forever. It might be a strange dynamic, and one that certainly can't last for long. But maybe, just for this one small moment, it's okay. As I stand from the table to go to join Lily and Hanako in the fields outside, I nod to myself in affirmation. This one small amount of happiness, no matter how brief, will last with me, with all of us forever. Okay folks, we're going to be leaving things off here. I think we are within the happy route of this game. If there is like another ending, like a normal or bad ending, but things so far have been rather fixed towards only a particular ending or two though. Like with Hanako's route, there was room for another ending to emerge from just two endings, alongside Rin's as well, and I think that's it actually. Like half the characters have three endings and half the characters have two endings. So we've got Shizune, Emmy, and quite possibly Lily having two endings, whereas Rin, Hanako, and oh gosh, I am so confused now. No wait, there's five. What am I thinking of? Two characters have two endings and three characters have three endings. Or two characters have three endings and three characters have two endings. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we shall see each other in what could possibly be the final time of Katawa Shoujo. Have a lovely day and take care of yourselves.